right in the middle, aren't you? You little lovelies. Think you're going to have to move? The railway's coming along nicely, but we reached the soggy bottom. I'm building an embankment in it to keep the track level, or mostly level anyway. It's quite hard going though, so I'm only making it wide enough for the railway to run on the top. Now apparently it's bad form to walk on sleepers. And really you shouldn't walk on a railway at all because you might just get run over. So I'm aiming for a walkway all alongside it. For someone pulling or pushing the wagon. Or perhaps one day for a pony or a donkey, maybe. Something like that. But the walkway doesn't actually need to be at the same height. So I'm using some of the fill to build up the embankment. It will make the walkway lower obviously, but that shouldn't matter at all. And that was all going quite well, but then it rained again, so things got much stickier. Sandra Kay came to help lay some track, and we slopped about in the mud for a couple of hours. I will bring some branches in to walk on because it's getting worse every time we walk around on it. Of course it is. But it all helps illustrate one of the many excellent things about railways. As you know, they were invented for just these conditions. Originally, they were just planks of wood for people to walk on over a bog. For thousands of years, that's what a railway meant. Slabs of wood or rails crossing a bog or a fen or something. When they put a second rail alongside, then they could pull a wagon across too, because the wagon wheels didn't sink. And as you know, then after a while they added sides to the rails to stop the wheels falling off, and sleepers to maintain the correct gap. And that's what we now think of as a railway. And they worked so well because they spread the weight of a person or a wagon across a big area. The rails themselves helped a lot, but the sleepers underneath them spread out the weight again, and soon you could cross bogs with huge loads. And all that's just as relevant today and just as useful today as it was hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. In fact, railways are still the best method that there is to cross wet land with a heavy load. Who'd have thought it? If I stand in the mud, then all my weight presses down on an area the size of my boots. So in my case, that's around 200 pounds over an area of 92 square inches. Or 2.1 pounds per square inch, 2.1 psi. But if I lift one foot up to take a step, then all the weight is on the other foot, and the pressure more than doubles, because I'm moving, to 5 psi or more. And so of course I sink. Now, if we compare that to a wagon of the same weight, then each wheel would carry 50 pounds. But the weight is spread out along the rails to some of the sleepers, which have much bigger footprints. It's a bit tricky to know for sure how far the weight is spread, but even if it's just to the nearest 5 sleepers, say, then suddenly the weight is spread over an area of 500 square inches. So the pressure comes down to 0.4 psi. So a wagon weighing the same as me would exert only about 1/12 the pressure on the ground as me walking on it. 1/12 the pressure. And that's not all. My boots have hard edges that move, and they cut easily into wet earth, breaking up any fibres and roots that might otherwise hold me up. But sleepers don't move, so there's no cutting action going on. And here's another interesting thing. Once the grass grows along the track, the roots will grow under the sleepers, making a thick mat that spreads the weight even more. Even if you only count half an inch all the way around each one, that would enlarge the total area under the wagon by another 130 square inches and reduce the pressure to 0.3 psi, which is nothing very much. And obviously that's the reason that railways don't sink. All right. Yes, okay, yes, fine, but what about other modes of transport? A horse, for instance, or a tractor, or a quad bike. Better go and have a look. A horse has 4 feet, obviously, so the weight is divided by 4 again, but their feet are relatively small. Just hold it across. And down now. So a walking horse could easily exert 20 psi. Our donkeys are much smaller and lighter.
Tim's train. Now this is a bit long.
But their feet are tiny. So maybe 15 psi. Both far too much pressure for our wet land in the winter, which is why they have to stay inside until springtime. But you can tell that horses and donkeys evolved in dry areas just by looking at their feet. In fact, they are afraid of boggy land because they know that they could sink and get stuck.
More interested in you than holding up a hoof, really. There's a shoe on it. Needs redoing in a while, but she's due the farrier next week.
Incidentally, cows are much better suited because they are cloven hooved, which means their feet actually get bigger in wet ground. Okay, what about a tractor or a quad, ATV if you like? Well, of course that all depends on how big the tyres are that they have. But I looked it up and the PSI could range from 2 right up to 20. And wider tyres mean more friction, so you need a bigger engine, and they obviously need more space too. And if you do break through the grass, whatever you're driving, then you're going to start making mud and deep ruts. And so the railway comes out a clear winner. No cutting action and the lowest ground pressure by far. And if you want to carry more weight, then just add more sleepers. So this embankment may be just a pile of soft, sticky clay that I can push a stick into down to 3 feet at least. But it will easily hold up my railway and all the weight that I put on it. No bother. Hooray for railways! But I'm still looking forward to getting around the corner and onto a drier bit. And it would be nice if the sun came out.